Hi everyone, I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow For Me Gardening. Today we're going on a full October garden tour. Welcome to our garden here in Zone 5B/6A Upstate New York. Today's garden tour is happening on a gorgeous October day. And you can tell because we're starting right here with this green gable black gum. And check out the fall color on that. We purposely chose this tree because of the intense red color that it turns in the fall, and I am just loving it.
And this actually is, I believe, a native tree. It gets quite large, and that's why we centered it right kind of in the middle of the backyard, so this can get to its full glory in 15 years.
Lots of room, and underneath it, we have a small trio of sprinter boxwoods. Again, this whole garden area that we're about to start going through was planted in 2022. So this was, its second
full season.
So I think everything's doing pretty well, but I think I'm gonna go that way, Christopher. What do you think?
Yeah, let's go this way. We like to mix it up for the tours and go in different directions.
We have our lamb's ear and our sensation honeysuckle. And this is a great honeysuckle because it's non-invasive.
Thank goodness.
Which is excellent. It gets a really decent size. Oh, here's a shorter bloom. I was reaching up for that one, but nice yellow flowers that the birds, the hummingbirds adore and the pollinators love. And then after the flowers fade, they turn to these red berries, which the birds are obsessed with. This is a high traffic area for birds. And all of this is planted on the Jardin Tower, which I love the shape of. I love how it's so simple, but it's also kind of contemporary. So it jives with the vibe of our garden. And it's very sturdy, 8 feet tall, 30 inches wide. So super substantial, but it doesn't look like heavy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's still airy enough, and especially carrying a really substantial vine.
Exactly, airy is a good word. So this, if you're looking for a nice, highly fragrant honeysuckle that the birds and pollinators will love, great choice. Walker's Low Catmint is a perennial that we have repeated throughout the entire garden. We will be cutting it back soon. You can see we are out here on a frosty morning. So this isn't our first frost. We've had a couple of frosts, and you'll notice things turn as the frosts happen. Inside there, Midnight Masquerade Penstemon, which brings a beautiful dark foliage during the growing season, but right now it's ready to be cut back. Next to the Midnight Masquerade Penstemon, the Monty Blue Spruce has been unearthed from the annuals that were planted around it. We had a mix of Verbena bonariensis and Rock and Plain the Blue Salvia all around it. And now is when it's really going to shine, because in the winter time, the blue color gets even more intense. This is an Isley specimen. It's supposed to get about 8 feet tall and 4 feet wide. I think that's the perfect spot for it, kind of capping off the edge of that sprinter boxwood hedge. In here, this big empty space is where all the Rock and Plain the Blue Salvias were, so that I think we'll repeat those again next year, Christopher.
I agree, I loved it.
They are excellent. Now right here, our trio of Let's Dance Skyview hydrangeas. They have rebloomed for us. I've been really happy with them this year, but look under here, Christopher. We have next year's buds hiding in here. So we're gonna protect these with some plant covers this winter because I really want those early blooms on those big leaf hydrangeas. Even though these will rebloom if they get cut back or the deer eat them. Well, they won't get cut back because we won't cut them back. But if the deer eat them or the frost get them, they will still bloom for us. Not Vanessa Bell, Tottering by Gently. And we left the last flush of roses on because we wanted the hips to form. Because Tottering by Gently, look down here, is known for its beautiful hips.
Look at that intense color on those hips. That's so fun.
It is known for its beautiful hips, much like me. No, just kidding. Sprinter boxwood. Lemon coral sedum is still doing a thing.
Yeah.
It's not hardy for us. It could overwinter for us. I think it's hardy to zone 7.
I think it is. I read that we're supposedly having a mild winter again this year.
Yeah, and this is such an exposed area, though, that I think that if we wanted to save it, we could, but we'll just leave it for now. Evergreen accent. This is when evergreens are really going to start to shine, as I mentioned before. This is Just Dandy Arborvitae. It's just a cute little ball of an Arborvitae, another Isley specimen. I am loving that texture, especially next to the lemon coral sedum. Midnight Wine Shine Weigelas flanking both sides of the sidewalk. And these are going to drop their leaves very shortly. But look at this, also unearthed, the Weeping White Spruce. And you can see, you know, this is the catch-22 about planting annuals and everything so lush and full, is they did smother out a little bit of the growth on the bottom, but I am not worried about that at all. That is absolutely going to reflush for us. And honestly, we'll probably always have annuals around the base of it. So I think that either way, I love this structure. This was like my dream tree for years, and I'm so glad we were happy to install it in this space.
Under our pergola, we are still working with some perennials, and there's a couple shrubs that we'll be saving. We have made some room in the garage right in front of where Eric parks. So some of these may still get in the ground. Most of them are probably going to go in the garage. And then when he comes in after work every day, it'll kind of give a little ambient heat that'll just take the temperature up enough to keep things happy through the winter. But in this bed, there's a lot of stuff I'm very excited for next year. We did our hedge here of the Tough Stuff Top Fun Hydrangea. It did very well. We planted small specimens, but they did bloom quite a few times. We're going to be putting a little structure over these. We'll be sharing that with you soon to protect them over winter so that, again, just like the Let's Dance Sky View, they don't lose that first set of blooms. They will rebloom, but we want to get that first set of blooms. Then down here, we have some luminary prismatic pink phlox. These are a nice tall phlox with a great dark leaf. A little bit of color left on them, but they'll be getting cut back presently. Above them is the Quickfire Fab Hydrangea. This trio did incredibly well this year. It just kept blooming and blooming. But these big, huge, giant heads on there. We'll be doing some trimming on these just to make sure they don't get weighed down by snow. But we'll probably enjoy this nice fluff for a little bit longer. We also have some Serendipity Allium that we did some dividing of last year. So these were all from divisions, and they put on so much growth, thickened up so nicely. So that tells us Serendipity Allium is an easy one to cut in half, split, and enjoy more of.
Yeah, great for dividing.
There's some verbena left over in the garden. We've been trying to get as many annuals out, but there's a lot, so it takes some time. There's some roses here, the Ancient Mariner, that did well. They're not really one for hips. And then Eric, right in front of me, is this very tall, reminiscent pink. There's a lot of plants to remember names of today. This was an incredible performer for us. Lots of thorns, lots of beautiful, fragrant, very English style pink roses. And obviously it puts on a lot of size. In the center here on the Essex trellis was a Still Waters clematis. You can see the funny little fuzzy seed heads on it. And that, if I'm not mistaken, is a group 2 clematis. So it will be getting pruned according to group 2 rules in the spring. You can see the very large hedge of Walker's Low Catmint. We only did one cutback this season. Last year we cut it back 2 times. And I feel like maybe we should have cut it back one more time because this got a little mangy.
It does. Towards the end of the season, we probably should have cleaned it up again. But
there's 2 fall colors I want to show you on this side. This is the Lowscape Snowfire Aronia. Look at this kaleidoscope of color right here. Isn't that cool?
That is such a great fall color.
It still has some blackberries on it, and we successfully protected it from the critters using some black chicken wire. I found this on one of the big box stores.
I think it was Lowe's.
It's a silicone covered chicken wire that's black. The silicone's great because you don't stab yourself so much with it when you're working with it. But I just made these big collars, and we'll leave them all year long because you don't see it. And it protected everything, and these are growing nicely. There's the Midnight Sun Weigela below it.
This fall color impresses me so much.
So pretty. And then we had tucked in some of the Fruit Punch Classic Coral Dianthus, which has had some visitors. some little friends here. I think bunnies like dianthus, Eric.
Yeah.
But this cool foliage color with this dark red, this is really nice.
I do love that combination. And the texture combination is great too.
Now, way back over here again on the berm, you can see that all of these sort of shrub and grass textures have come into their own. Blackhawk's blue stem, this is a must-have grass for us. We just divided some and added it up to the front of the house. Really pretty dark foliage color, more of the serendipity allium that we did from divisions. Really like how you can just make more of them. This is the morning light miscanthus. I love how it's so wispy and light colored, but then it puts out these kind of like, I'm gonna call them Pinot Noir fronds.
Oh yeah.
And
so pretty.
They really are pretty. And I say Pinot Noir because there's another grass down here that's got the champagne going on. These are some double play artisan. Did I say it was artisan?
It's a double play spirea.
And I kept misnaming it, but it's got a
Fall
beautiful
color.
fall color on it. And then, of course, we have the opening day viburnum. That is the star of the berm in the fall.
It really is. It really shines in the spring and the fall. And behind it is our red obelisk beech, which turns green in the fall because it's red during the season.
I think that is so funny the way that happens. Oh, and then right here, Eric, is the Adagio miscanthus, which has that champagne, or maybe we'll say Chardonnay to go with that Pinot Noir of the other grass. But same grass family, just a different grass plume.
Oh, and just to mention, before I forget, Christopher, the repeated evergreen on the berm are green giant arborvitae.
Yes, these were planted from, I think they were 5 feet tall or 4 feet tall, those contractor packs you see at Home Depot. And there was a day that I came out, I planted them while Eric was at work. I can't believe how well these have done. This is pretty incredible. Right here we have some Tough Stuff hydrangea. They've got their little crystals on it. How beautiful is that? Little fall color kind of blushing through on them.
Little morning frost. Now this whole area is going to get reworked next year.
I'm looking forward to the reworking.
From here on is going to be all reworked. Not quite sure. Well, we do have some ideas.
We have some ideas.
There'll be a lot of evergreen.
A lot of evergreen, but as you can see, the black pussy willow here, I coppiced this, or not coppiced, I pollarded it. I tried to turn it into a little bit of a tree form. This particular specimen, I think it has enough water and light and all the things it wants. It is unmanageable. If we let this go, I think this would probably be as big as the river birch.
It might be. And
It's
I think
huge.
that's kind of okay.
Yes, and then in front of it here, there is a little river here of reminiscent crema rose, the At Last rose, and these did very well, all from bare root in one season.
Mm-hmm.
So they may be relocated, they might stay here in front of the reworked little area, but we shall see what comes.
Over here is our limelight hydrangea hedge. It has gone to sleep for the season. It does that when it gets this cold, dropping leaves. We do have some cleanup to do on it. But moving on in this direction, we have little lime punch hydrangeas, which did very well this season, gave us great color. Our lark ascending rose put out one last little flower that just faded. Yesterday it looked so beautiful and fresh, but now it's gone to sleep. Diana contorted larch. The fall color is starting. This is a deciduous conifer. It produces cones, but it drops its needles in the fall, and it turns this intense neon orange color. It's a really great specimen tree. Very quick growing in our experience. Again, only planted in 2022.
It is getting tall. I'm so excited to watch it grow.
I am too, and we'll probably limit up a little bit in the spring. We have a nice little grouping of Veronica down here. It was this pink...
Purple illusion.
Not even close, Eric. It was purple illusion, Veronica. Back there, you can see the bright yellow berries of the berry heavy gold winter berries.
Very pretty color.
That is a nice, like, hearty portion of berries, and I think the birds are really going to
They're
enjoy
gonna go
them.
nuts on them.
Purple Pillar, Rose of Sharon, did amazing. Really quick growing, nice and full. On this other Essex trellis, this is Pink Mink Clematis, and it has done very well. That's a vigorous clematis.
It is very vigorous, and I just have to say that it is early morning and the sun's just starting to rise. Look at how it's glowing through those leaves. It's really pretty, Eric.
Tucked in here, and we have 3 of these throughout the garden, are Sting Arborvitaes. This is a new introduction from Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs. They get a foot wide, but they get like 15 feet tall.
I'm really excited because it's the closest thing we can get to those beautiful Italian cypress trees that you see when you're in Tuscany.
I know, those were so beautiful. Sugar Shack Buttonbush, right in the center there. You can see some leftover seed heads. Check out this ornamental grass. I love the seed heads on it. Christopher, I'm sure you know the name of it.
That is Ruby Ribbons.
Ruby Ribbons, which is planted underneath our crabapple tree. And this is prairie fire crabapple. It is persistent.
Yep.
So it holds its fruit until the birds come and get it. And it really looks like they've already been chowing down, because it looks pretty sparse already.
It does look pretty sparse already.
This is the Dahlia patch that has now obviously gone over, but Christopher has taken the time to label all the dahlias he wants to save. And before the frost came, he went ahead and took a picture of the flower and numbered them so we would know what each one is.
I think I'm going to save 10.
All right.
And then I also saved a ton of seeds so I can still plant new ones to see what comes, but I also will be guaranteed at least 10 of them that I know what their color is.
And I don't know where the dahlias are going to be next year. I don't know if we'll do them again right here. I was thinking we might do them up front on the green wall, or maybe we'll take the dahlias themselves and incorporate them into the borders, maybe separate them out and not necessarily do a dahlia patch. But so this area can become more planting space for shrubs and things.
Yeah.
Tucked in there is the Tickle Creek birch. You can see it's dropped most of its leaves. It's just hanging on to the last of them. The structure on that tree is so cool. You know I love a weeper. Some more of that awesome phlox in there. That's backlight.
This one
white.
this is luminary, or backlight, yes, the white one.
And now, one of my other favorite evergreens gets to shine. This is the Japanese white pine. If you start to see this on your pine trees this time of year, it's totally normal. They're just gonna fall off, which I like, because then look at that cool structure it leaves behind.
It's such a beautiful tree.
Those beautiful pine cones. Some more Verbena bonariensis. Down here is tiny quickfire, the smallest panicle hydrangea. Did very well, and the color got really intense. I would say if you like a red panicle hydrangea, this was the most intense red of the panicles we had.
It definitely was.
Coming around this way, we have Sprinter Boxwoods repeated. This right here, Flavor Red Honey Apricot Rose, is a great rose. Beautiful, smells fantastic, and they say it's edible. I've tasted it.
It's definitely edible. I usually...
It's edible. You can decorate with it in your dishes. This is more of that Ruby Ribbons, right?
This is Cheyenne Sky.
Oh my gosh.
I have really tried to mix up a whole smattering of fun ornamental grasses, mostly just to confuse Eric.
I know. I'm like, well, what's the difference? What is the difference? Well, it's smaller, clearly.
No, they're probably the same size. Ruby Ribbons gets a redder grass frond along the way, and it might have something to do with the color of their fronds. I don't know. They're gorgeous and fun.
Right here was the corn. We pulled it out. Behind that is a hedge of Invincibelle lace, which is a smooth leaf hydrangea. It blooms on new wood, but it has a lace cap with pinky purple flowers and white sterile florets that come out. It's gorgeous, and because of that color combination, it mixes well with anything in your garden. So if you're looking for a really low maintenance, very close to native hydrangea, I recommend Invincibelle lace.
We had a really good time this year with our elevated beds. We're still learning because, you know, we're landscapers, not necessarily with the edibles as much, but we're learning, we're catching on. You know, so we did some microgreens in the fall, some cool weather crops. We did Jacoby little pumpkins, which I have a bunch of at work. Eric took a bunch of them to work. They were the cutest little mini pumpkins. We did green beans and cypress vine on them. Green beans will be a must next year. I think the pumpkins also a must. I thought they were so cute.
They were cute. We couldn't even keep up with the green beans.
No, we could not.
You can see them still dangling there.
We could not keep
eating
up.
them every day.
The seascape strawberries, we had 4 in each of the 2x2 beds. That is definitely going to be repeated. And again, we're learning about the watering so much. We have these awesome garden in minutes grids in there. So we will be using the valve to lower the water, I think. The strawberries did better when we weren't watering so much. And then we did kind of an Italian section here with basil, oregano, and there's some parsley. There were tomatoes in here. Very successful. Things will be getting fully cleaned out
I know,
this
I'm
afternoon.
Looking at it and thinking, oh, we really got to clean these out
Let's
today.
do a tour of this beauty right here. There's one other thing on the this area before we move on to the other beds. This is the Malvern Hills Rambling Rose that we have growing up the pergola. It is a rambler, meaning it will get big, but it's known to be a more narrow rambler, and it also doesn't have as many thorns, so we thought that would be friendlier to install that on the pergola. We're going to do a bit of a spiral for a look. It bloomed a lot. This is one season bare root.
It's hard to believe this was bare root, but it's going to get
Really
pretty
nice.
large. And the plan is to train it up and then to split it, going to the left and then to the right.
This was a very fun project earlier in the season.
This was tricky, especially to get drip to. We did a video about it, right?
Yes, there is a video when we actually have drip that comes underneath the stairs, it comes across, and then we built sort of a well of soil. So this isn't actually planted in stone, it's a little top dressed with stone. You have to watch the video.
It was a big project.
It was a big project.
I'm proud of that.
Yes, we were very proud of that. Now, we've cleaned off the terrace. The bonfire patio peach and the Moffat blue are the only things living up there. They will both be going into the ground next season, and we've made a decision to go with larger concrete planters that we will choose over the winter and have come in spring, so that we don't have so many pots. We just want to have 4 big pots, and then we can simplify our annual planting and figure out a drip system to go to them. So here in our kind of shadier corner, the Bloodgood Japanese maple, I didn't even realize how big it had gotten in the one season. It put on an incredible amount of beautiful growth. And of course, you've got that lovely red color. This actually might need some limbing up next year, but it's so architectural, so perfect for this spot in the garden. Below that is Empress Wu Hosta, Neptune Hosta, Echo of the Sun Hosta tucked in there. We have Brunnera, Geranium, and then Gatsby Moon Oakleaf Hydrangea, which are a little funny shaped right now because they had a tremendous Sun King Aurelia in this area that kind of bullied them out a little bit. The Sun King was just divided into 4 pieces, and we transplanted them throughout the garden, which I'm very excited to have that chartreuse bold texture throughout the garden. Back there is something called Sweet and Low Sarcocoa. It's an evergreen that will bloom early in the, well, I guess you could call it late winter, early spring bloomer. And it's grown nicely in that spot. I like that texture. It really
has. It's a nice shade perennial. It does prefer some moist soil, so I think it's one of the ones that we have under consideration for
that back corner.
That back corner that is shady and moist.
There it is. We did very well with the VEGO hose this year. That was something that we tried out this year. It's a retractable hose, new brand for us. They did very well. Great performance, good water flow.
I like the length of it a lot too.
Yes,
it's 100 feet.
Yeah, that really helped. It's an ultra, or it's a high flow, but it's still the skinnier hose size. so it can be 100-foot long. They will be coming into the garage as well
very soon. Especially, and that orbit setup we got going on back there for the drip.
The orbit drip system, another one very successful. I control it on an app on my phone, but all those little technical gears, they really don't need to be freezing so much. Eric recently limbed up a hardy limb up here on the Carolina Sweetheart redbud that had great variegation, great pink color, really fun tree. I can't wait to see this get taller.
I agree. And it's best to limb up and start, shaping your trees when they're very young. And this was just a whip. Yeah. This came in a box, I remember, for my birthday last year or the year before, and it was bent in half. It was so pliable and small. So it's really gotten established and taken off.
It's done very well.
Quickly.
Down here are some pufferfish hydrangea that again, just did very well. They're getting established. They're putting on some nice size. There's a few mini boxwoods throughout the garden. That's actually a new variety coming out called Neat Ball. It's similar to a green velvet in style and shape, but it's Neat Ball. I think that's a really funny name for it.
It's a neat name.
It's a neat name. This is an Arctic Fire dogwood doing its signature red stems.
And we're moving it. It is getting moved.
Yeah, that's got to move. It's going to be interesting to move that because it's right here next to the Parkland pillar birch tree, which, as much as it's a pillar, a few times during heavy rains, it became a weeping pillar.
It did splay quite a bit.
Lot. So at one point, I was trying to tie this thing together. There's one branch up there that's
permanently splayed.
So we have to make some decisions if we want to get up in there and tie it, because I'd prefer that it doesn't hang out on the house.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a very narrow birch tree, which it would be if it could withstand the storms.
I probably, again, trees that grow really fast, they're going to be more flexible. So maybe we just need to give that a little support.
But that bark is showing off for the first time this year. Look at that.
Oh, it is.
It's really the first time it's showing off that white.
It is really good. So we talk a lot about the beast, Emily Bronte. This shrub rose, there's 3 of them here. This was cut back after the first flush really hard this year, and it still put out a tremendous amount of growth. I'm always impressed at just how powerful Emily Bronte
is a beast. Make sure you have room.
Make sure you have room for Emily Bronte.
I think on the website it says 3 to 4.
That's funny.
It's more like 8 to 9 feet tall.
Right, 3 to 4 a month.
It's a small climber.
Yeah, it's a small bush. So down here we have some really fun perennials. This is bobblehead. It's similar to serendipity allium, but much bigger. It's going to be like 30 inches tall and wide, and it gets more of a lavender fluff in its orb bloom. Next to that is Firefly Fuchsia. I cannot believe yarrow is still showing color this time of year. We have 5 of them in here.
We have 5. We covered 3 because that's how many cloches we had left. And you can see the difference between covered yarrow, uncovered yarrow.
So we're going to get some more cloches is what we've just learned. And then we have here the Totally Stoked Riptide Stokes Aster. You got to practice that one.
Totally Stoked Riptide Stokes Aster.
That's a mouthful. Beautiful blue flowers, gorgeous foliage, and what a texture situation this will be with sort of the blue strappy, the big thick green leaves, and the fuzzy yarrow. This is a really nice little collection. Here is the blue feathers Hinoki cypress, which I always laugh. I thought that it was a ball shape, but turns out it's actually a cone shape when you let it grow. So this is going to turn into a little feathery cone-shaped tree. Ember Waves, Western Arborvitae. Look at this
the
color.
Gold pop that brings.
Gorgeous. Yeah. And here is the blue bubbly Baptisia that did very nicely for us. We did cover up a little bit of this wonderful pesto mugo pine that we added. So I am going to maintain it a little up and over here so this can flush out and look really great. Underneath Dowick Purple, another beech tree this will stay nice and compact. I mean, nice and fastigiate. So nice and upright for us, so we're not worried about it getting involved in the house or any of that kind of stuff. And before we continue up that way, I just want to point out, look how good, this is just a regular old emerald green Arborvitae, but it looks so nice. Below that is the Rockin' Round sedum, Pride and Joy, that we added to the containers. Looking very nice, all tucked in here. I think that's gonna look so good this season. Next season, I'm sorry. And then the last thing on this little section is the Woolerton Old Hall Climbing Rose. That has given us the last rose of the season.
Vanderwolf Limbar Pine. Check it out. The growth it put on this season was amazing. And you can see, just like our Japanese white pine, it's doing the needle drop in the middle. These will all fall to the ground. It'll insulate the plant's roots and everything. It's just great. And I love that. I mean, I don't mind that at all. Look at this fall color on this wabi-sabi Japanese maple. It's a weeping Japanese maple. It's a hybrid between a Japanese maple and a Korean maple to improve the cold hardiness on it. It's hardy to zone 5. The bottom is getting nibbled. I don't know how we would help that though.
I don't know if there's any way to do that. I think we just maintain it.
I also kind of don't mind it being nibbled because it keeps it up off the ground.
Yeah, I
Right?
could see that. Maybe eventually we'll let it, but
Yeah.
it's kind of nice.
Walker's Low Catmint, a nice drift of the Invincible Lace. We're repeating that again. This is another pillar Rose of Sharon, but it's white Rose of Sharon right here with a Hollywood juniper in front of it. Roald Dahl, another shrub rose from David Austin Roses. You can see that it's trying to send out a little fall flower for us. Shiloh Splash Birch. Look at that tree. I love it. To me, it shines all season long. Not much for fall color, but look at the bark.
It's really nice.
It's really pretty. In front of it is a Deutzia, a little sprinter boxwood, a Limelight Prime Hydrangea. Here is a trio of Let's Dance Can Do. We planted these last fall, so these have been in the ground officially a year. And I think they did very well.
I agree. I think it's still my new favorite hydrangea.
It's a really cool hydrangea because it blooms up the length of the entire stem. It reblooms very well too. It's a hybrid between a mountain hydrangea and a big leaf hydrangea. It's really interesting. It's a lace cap, but it's a very full lace cap. So when the lace cap is fully bloomed out, it almost looks like a mop head. It really is like a true hybrid of those two types of hydrangeas. Weeping Norway Spruce. Here's an adagio grass. Look at me knowing things today. I'm learning. Firelight Tidbit, my favorite little compact hydrangea. If you're looking for a small panicle hydrangea, this is full size, and there are 3 or 4 of them here. Full size. This is as big as they get. Gabriel Oak Rose. The color is so intense. It's so hard for me to get pictures of this because the color in real life is so intense, it just blows out on camera.
It doesn't look that great.
But because it's so vivid. Over here, a little update on the green wall. Look at our Blue Point Juniper is producing berries for the first time. That is really exciting. We have our strong box down here. These are just babies. These were little 1 gallons when we planted them a couple of weeks ago. A trio of North Pole Arborvitaes, which I have sprayed with deer repellent. Down here is a privet and a weed. The weed is being kept very safe underneath the cloche. This is Green Screen Arborvitae, a brand new introduction from Isley. Look at the difference between these two Arborvitaes. It's amazing how different they can be. And this is going to take on a blue tone over the winter, from what I understand. And then in front is Castle Rouge Holly. Again, just a tiny little specimen. It's going to get much larger as time goes on. Jane Magnolia, we limbed this up. I'm really happy with how that came out. And that brings us to our fall containers. up here we have a trio flanking the garage doors. In the center is Rise Up Lilac Days Rose, and I caved. I just cut them back because every time I was pulling in the garage, they were brushing against my car. And I was like, oh, I'm just cutting them back. And I don't think we're going to keep them in here because they got huge. They are a vigorous rose. If you want a large, gorgeous, highly fragrant rose, Rise Up Lilac Days. These were coral colored mums and yellow mums and some ornamental cabbage. And I saw a lot when I was out watering the other day, not necessarily on these, but maybe over here, Christopher, you can see. There was a lot of nibbling happening. And so I went ahead and sprayed because I saw those darn caterpillars.
Oh, the little green ones?
Yeah, the little green ones. That the little white moths come and lay their eggs, and then,
they ruin everything.
They do. Winter gem boxwood. Now we're getting into like a more established boxwood. These are one of the first things we planted in 2018, and you can look at that.
It's
It was
so
a 2
solid.
gallon when we planted it.
Yeah, as much as I say I'm going to do a really hard prune on them in the spring, I might not. I like them big, and I like when they're not perfectly spheres.
I agree. In here is just a little repeat. The mums have kind of gone over, but the millet is still looking cute. Blue kazoo spirea. Did you want to come up here, Christopher, and look at the door?
Yeah, let's take a look at that really quick. It's a little dark in here. The light is clearly changing.
But this is where I really noticed the caterpillars. I was like, that's so strange. And look, they ate like the whole top half of the cabbage.
That's so weird.
And then so I just sprayed them. They were covered with caterpillars, these two. But repeated the peppers. You can see these peppers survived the frost because they're up here by the front door. Oh no, see, I sprayed them and look, they're all dead on the ground.
Oh God, that's gross.
They all fell off.
There's lots of little green caterpillars on the carpet.
Gotta clean that up. Yellow mums in the head planters. This is a columnar Hetsu juniper. I love this. I love that it's a little bit free, a little bit architectural. It softens the front corner of the home because we do have a very boxy home. Christopher, do you want me to kind of go along the back and you go along the front, or do you want me to come out front?
Why don't you can go right across the back. That'd be fine.
Let's do it.
Well, while you're getting in position, these are the wee white hydrangeas that have been here for quite a while, and they did phenomenal for us this year. Obviously, the purple in the purple fountain grass is less than purple, but...
And that's why it's not hardy for us. But we do have, along the foundation of the home, a grouping of winter gem boxwoods, and we have some that were planted again in 2018, and then some planted a couple years later. So the idea is kind of, at some point, they're going to be shaped into like a cloud.
Yes,
right?
I want to do a cloud pruning so badly.
And so that's the goal, is to kind of be able to shape these 6 or 7 winter gems into kind of a lumpy cloud look. In front of that is a hedge of Invincible Spirit 2 hydrangeas, which during the growing season should get large enough to be a little bit taller than the boxwoods. But then what happens in fall and winter is they die back. So we still have this to add interest to the foundation of the home.
I do have to interrupt you, Eric, because no one's paying attention to you.
Hello. This is my best friend, Frederick.
Yep.
He's
Frederick
so
hangs
cute.
out on his little shelf, on his little cushion in the window, and gets all the sun.
He sure does. And his sister Freya will join him sometimes. But they're not great at sharing. In front of that, blue kazoo spireas with their fall color on, a nice cranberry, very nice
Gorgeous.
and intense. Over here, more Firelight Tibet hydrangeas, and I love the pairing of the Firelight Tibet hydrangea panicle hydrangea with the Invincible Spirit 2 hydrangea, because these will bloom earlier in summer, whereas those bloom later, and so you get this nice tiered effect of hydrangeas. In here, we are going to add a ton of Ambassador alliums. We ordered a bunch of them, so we've got to get those in the ground sometime before Thanksgiving. We have some time. Right?
We've got some time.
We have about 4 weeks. And those are great because they send out their big purple flowers before the hydrangeas fully leaf out. And then as the allium foliage fades, the hydrangeas are leafing out and they cover it up, which is great. Underneath the tricolor beech, look at that. Not great fall color, but it's great the rest of the season. Let me come around front, Christopher. Look at this, our hedge of Vanessa bells. Very floriferous.
Very floriferous.
There's 4 of them under here. Can you believe how well they've done over the years?
They are so clean. There's no black spot, there's no fungus, just they look gorgeous all year long.
They really are. If you back up, Christopher, we can go down here. This is a panicle hydrangea that has done very well for us over the years. This is called Vanilla Strawberry. Very sturdy stems.
I noticed too, not only is it like even the dried dead bloom is still kind of reddish.
It's a nice panicle. Check out that pampas grass.
The dwarf pampas grass.
The dwarf pampas grass that's not too dwarf. Another firelight tidbit hydrangea. This one was actually in the foundation bed and we transplanted it over here. Another Hetzi columnar juniper to again echo the foundation bed. So we wanted that cohesion in the front of the house. This right here
is a stick.
It's a stick, but it was a branch from a lime Ricky hydrangea on the east side, which I'm sure we'll get there, that had been pressed into the ground somehow. Either we mulched too much on top of it or rain had pressed it into the ground, but it formed roots. And so I cut it and I planted it here. It is a discontinued hydrangea, so I feel comfortable having done that because you can't get it anywhere anymore. And I'm just really hopeful that it takes root and we have a beautiful lime Ricky hydrangea.
That will be fun. And also over there, Eric, that's a totem pole grass.
I avoided that because I couldn't remember the name. But this is a Spring Grove Arborvitae. This will get nice and big. It's Prove a Winner's version of a green giant Arborvitae. And then this green wall mirrors the other side.
Coming over onto the east side where we're having some beautiful morning sun, we have the Oakleaf hydrangea. This is Gatsby pink, doing what Oakleafs do best. This burgundy matte finish to the giant oak tree looking leaves. It's my favorite time of year for Oakleaf hydrangeas. They are a no maintenance shrub in our case. You know, you've got the blooms, they're kind of dried up, they'll shrivel away over the winter, but it's these leaves for me. I think they are so beautiful.
Really pretty.
Here's that lime Ricky that Eric took the rooted cutting from, doing its little thing here. Below that is a brand new addition to our garden. This is Red Rover Heucherella. Really cute leaves on it. There's a whole bunch of them just sort of pressed into the ground to give a nice dark red foliage to contrast some of that green.
Ooh, and a little sprinter boxwood.
Oh, and there's another sprinter boxwood in there.
They're hard to miss now, but they won't be shortly.
But by the next time that we walk through the garden with you, they will be the star. This is the Brandywine viburnum, a very shiny burgundy, very pretty. The berries are almost all gone. The birds have been on this like nobody's business. Down here is Wee Bit Innocent hydrangea. These will definitely be getting protected. They put out a really soft pastel bloom. This is the dappled willow that has been pollarded to give us shade because we didn't really have much shade in the garden, so we made some.
I know. Oh, wait, we forgot the Hinoki cypress.
Oh, yes.
See, all the evergreens, during the growing season, they disappear. But
right. And it's so funny. Pretty. Hinoki cypress, I see them sometimes as this big architectural tree. And I thought, let's just let this one go. Let's not stake it. We'll let it do whatever it wants to do. I think I am going to contour the pollard a little bit to give this some more breathing room.
Yeah.
But it's next to this Limelight Prime hydrangea, and it's lovely.
It is. Do you think we should protect this Light O'Day hydrangea this season?
I think we should, because we've never had blooms on it.
Except the very first year.
Except the first year. Yeah, I think we should. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do that because it's so big, but
we'll just wrap it in like burlap or something.
Yeah, we'll do that. Or
we'll have to ask Sky.
We'll ask Sky. She always will have the ideas on the hydrangea protection. Oh,
ooh, I just set off we turned off the hose on the yard enforcer. But there must have been some water left in it.
That's okay. But see, if we were
it
a deer.
Works. This is what we have to ward off deer from the hydrangea room. It's the yard enforcer from Orbit. It's hooked up to the hose, so obviously we're gonna have to take it in soon. look at it. Just wants to spray me, but we turned off the water. But it's heat sensing and motion sensing, and it sprays the deer during the growing season.
And it kept this area from being touched by deer, and that makes it a significant winner. We also have added in a bunch more of perennials just in this whole area, but we have a mixture of the Primo Pistachio Ambrosia and the dressed up prom dress heuchera. We alternated them for texture and bloom color. There's a whole swath of them. I think there's 10 of them now. We just added some new ones. As you continue around, Eric, you'll see the pink Chablis Lamium that is so luscious, doing very well. Down here, we have the Mini Marvels Midnight Campanula, another new for next year perennial that has the cutest little purple flowers on it. So we have another little texture there. I have it in my head. Keep going, Eric. We're going to do a couple more perennials here. I'm going to take some of the Peachberry Ice heuchera and line this area here with Magic Show Ever After Veronica, our favorite perennial pairing, just to create this kind of block effect. I think it's very nice to have that repetition and sort of a mass effect with these big, beautiful hydrangeas behind it, including Bobo, Invincibelle's Spirit 2. That's a quick fire standard. Here's an Aphrodite sweet shrub that Eric cut back really hard, and it did wonders afterwards with these big leaves. Wow, this thing is desperate to spray me right now. There's also some more Invincibelle Ruby here. So you can see how we have blocks of perennials with kind of blocks of hydrangea behind it. I think it'll give it a really nice effect. I know Eric is taking you all the way up right now at our Winecraft Gold Smokebush. This plant on paper is about 6 to 8 feet tall, not even that wide. Ours has clearly outdone itself. It's beautiful. It glows in the sun. The problem is we can't see out the window anymore. It has really blocked that so much. So we have to make a decision on whether or not we're taking it down to the ground, whether or not we're taking it down by half. What would you guys do? Would you bring it to the ground? Would you cut it by half? Would you shape it somehow else? That would be that'd be the advice we're looking for on this one. I'm curious what everybody thinks. On this side, the actual hydrangea room of the hydrangea room. This is a mixture in the back of Invincibelle Lace and Invincibelle Sublime hydrangeas that will eventually get just about the height of the fence. In front of that, we have a mixture of Invincibelle or Incredible Blush and Incredible White hydrangea. There's also some Invincibelle Ruby towards the front. This will just interweave and mesh and become this whole tapestry of hydrangea blooms. I'm very excited to see how this does next year.
I really am too. We have to up that drip though.
Yes, we've learned a lot about irrigation. We've been having drier summers. It's just something that's happening here in our area. So we do have to increase the amount of water we're giving them, and not just at the root ball, but also blanketing the whole area. So instead of being targeted drip, I think it's going to be more brown drip with irrigation holes all over the place, and just let the hydrangeas go. I did forget up here, this is
Bathsheba.
Wow, Eric had to give me a name. Bathsheba Rose. There's also a Raguchi. Beautiful clematis planted below that, so we'll have another yellowy and blue combination. We'll be training this over. We'll do some, wow, this grew really funny.
It grew a lot since we planted it.
A lot.
And it's just 3 simple trellises we got at Home Depot that we zip tied together, as you can see here. Zip tied together, and then we hung on our fence hooks.
Yeah, those vinyl fence hooks, that was a game changer.
Came in very handy. Capping off the hydrangea hedge right here, we have another blue stem. It's also called a turkey foot grass. The official name, though, you know I'm going to ask Christopher.
This is Twilight Zone.
It's Twilight Zone grass with a dwarf mugo pine. On another set of trellises back there, that is Kinsley Ghost honeysuckle. And that was planted probably 3 or 4 seasons ago as a tiny little court. And it really is true to that sleep, creep, leap, because this year it leapt, and I love it. Our Winecraft Black Smokebush. This was coppiced to the ground. You might remember our video this past spring. We cut it to the ground, and it has flushed back exactly like we were hoping it would. Really intense foliage, nice color. This structure of a tree right back here, which I love so much, is our Eastern Redbud. Nice gold yellow leaves in the fall. As you can see, they're already dropping it. It has, in the springtime, pinkish purple flowers all over the trunks and branches. Trunk and branches, not multiple trunks. This is a single trunk specimen. On our Gothic Arch here, which I love because it is so large, we have the Generous Gardener Rose paired with the Betty Corning Clematis. And I didn't realize we'd be getting so much fall color on the Clematis and Rose on this, and I'm really happy with it.
I love it. And Generous Gardener, along with Tottering by Gently, is in the David Austin collection of Good for Hips. It does put out a nice orange hip.
And I'm going to try and do both sides as we pass, Christopher. Do you think you can handle it?
I can handle it.
All right, so we'll do this side really quick. Pagoda Dogwood, we did take off that bottom layer of branching. It was time, and it's a really good idea to prune your trees when they're young. Start to shape them when they're young, much less traumatizing. There's another Gatsby pink Oakleaf hydrangea back there. It doesn't get as much sun. Oakleaf hydrangeas are the most shade tolerant of the hydrangea varieties for us. A rhododendron. This will be nice evergreen interest during the winter. We recently planted up this area here with more, of course I got the section that has the coral bell names. Dressed Up Prom Dress, Pistachio Ambrosia mixed together right here. This right here is a Heucherella. It's Fun and Games, right?
Yep, Shadow Tag.
Shadow Tag. Fun and Games?
Fun and Games, Shadow Tag, Heucherella.
Heucherella. Good job, Christopher. This is Red Rover Heucherella. I love that foliage.
Which is also
so cool.
It's also a Fun and Games.
Also Fun and Games. A Drinking Gourd Hosta.
They are brand new.
I know. Hudson Bay?
Hudson Bay and Hope Springs Eternal.
Yes. I don't know which is which, but that's what's there.
Neither do I.
Cut back were some more hostas. They were the Empress Wu. We took a chunk of that Sun King Aurelia and planted it there in the spot where the Limetime Coleus was. Our Weeping Ruby Falls Redbud, which is greening up in the fall. A drift, a hedge. This is probably going to spray me because, oh no, we turned off the hose.
We turned off the hose.
Sublime.
Yep, it's trying to spray him right
it's
now.
Trying to spray me, but this is a great deer deterrent because they say that deer will learn and they'll like, we forget that they're here and they scare us every time. So I'm sure they scare the deer. Our hedge of Lady of Shalott roses, our fountain, which needs to be cleaned out because it's iced up all over the top, and Walker's Low Catmint. But let's go back that way. Take you up the east mixed border and wrap it up. Tough Stuff hydrangeas. Epic performance this year.
Beautiful.
Really outstanding. A nice mountain hydrangea. A drift, kind of like a river of Dark Side of the Moon Astilbe happening here. You can see all these beautiful fallen leaves. I love it so much. Our gold cone juniper. I just love that little thing.
It's so cute.
It really does a
It really
great job.
is.
Lamb's Ear, Serendipity Allium again. Faded Peonies, Quickfire Hydrangea that had great fall color on it. Check out our castor beans. They have Succumb.
Yeah, they look like something.
So those will get pulled. Look at the trunks, Christopher. You can see the trunk.
In one season. Oh, that's like a 3-inch caliper.
That's pretty legit. Our Fall in Love Sweetly Anemones, Autumn Joy Sedum. This is a Pinky Winky. Eventually this will get much bigger. This was probably planted the year before last.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a 2-gallon. So I tend to say Pinky Winkies grow slow for us. Emerald Green Arborvitae in the back. This I love. This is such a show-stopping tree. This is a Tromnar blue spruce. It's a hybrid between a blue spruce and a Serbian spruce. It's eventually supposed to get about 14 feet wide, 20 feet tall. So we figured 7 feet in each direction. I don't know. We'll prune it how we need to prune it. The size is a future problem. Until then, we're going to enjoy it. We're going to plant annuals around the base of it. That's why there's all this empty space here. We pulled out those annuals. This is a drift of oh so easy peasy roses. There were annuals in front here that have been pulled. Anna's Magic Ball Arborvitae. I love the chartreuse poppet rings. I don't think I realized Anna's Magic Ball stays chartreuse all the time.
I did not know that either. I just always thought it was cute texture-wise, and now that we know that, I think that we could be popping these in a few places.
It's a great little pop of color. Right here is a nice drift of Let's Dance lovable hydrangea. These are going to get protected for sure. They are just babies. They were planted this past spring as 1 gallons. They've done very well. Sweet Romance lavender. A nice hedge forming up the front, our Greenwich pedestal and Jensen urn. These are both Campagna pieces. This is the color Alpine Stone. In them is the Cascade hydrangeas. These are the Fairy Trail green. We're going to cover this shortly, probably, right? Within the next month.
Yep.
We'll share with you when we do that. North winds, prairie, grass, right?
Panicum.
Panicum.
That is
epic.
So beautiful.
And every fall we say, next spring we have to divide it. And then we don't. So hopefully we do this spring because it is getting pretty
We kind of
large.
have to this season.
A whole drift of Agastache. We're kind of entering the corner that's a little bit more of the wilderness corner, pollinate. I mean, the whole garden's for pollinators and birds, but this back here is really geared towards that. We have a drift of salvia right here that looks like something tried to eat it.
Oh, interesting.
And salvia is supposed to be one of those more resistant to critters, but something definitely did try to eat it. A trio of Jackmantii birches. We got to get in there, Christopher, while it's still young, and we're going to limit up quite a bit, but you can see that white bark is already forming on it. Lots of milkweed back there, lots of baptisia, lots of bee balm, the Queen of the Prairie Venusta, there's Pinky Winky, there's Winterberry back there, there's another green giant planted. Lots of nice natives happening back there. These are more of the backlight, luminary backlight white phlox. You can see they're sending out flowers.
Can we just put in one more plug for Luminary Series phlox?
Really
This is the end of
nice.
the season. Look at the leaves. There is nothing on them. They're beautiful.
Really pretty. This is an icebreaker Korean fir. It gets about 3 by 3. It grows very, very slowly, but that's the color year round. If you can believe it, it just is that intense white icy blue the entire time. And in front of that is cherry truffles heuchera, a hedge of Invincible mini mauveette hydrangeas, again the hardy hibiscus, capped off with a winter gem boxwood, and underneath or above it all is this bald cypress tree. I think that takes us around the entire garden.
We did it.
We did it. October garden tour in the bag. Thank you so much for joining us today on our full October garden tour. Again, I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow For Me Gardening.
Thanks for growing with us.